Welcome to the Creative College Journey podcast, the place to help raise awareness on the many pathways to a creative life and education and how college might be a part of it. Because it's not where you go to school, but how you go to school that counts. Hosted by professional creative and college expert Scott Barnhart, who is chatting with a variety of guests who have some amazing lived experiences from different universities, majors, and creative industry interests. And we hope by hearing their stories, it might help give you some inspiration to find your own creative college journey.
I am so excited to have a really unique college conversation today with a former student of mine that I am so proud of. And this is a story about ways to thrive as a creative artist without college. If you know anything about my work, I hope you hear that I am someone who equally advocates for four-year universities, community colleges, and straight-to-industry options for post-high school, so long as they are a match to goals and growth. And Shane Norys has done that in spades. Shane is a dancer, choreographer, and performer originally from Orange County, California. He attended the Orange County School of the Arts to study musical theater from 7th to 12th grade, and I had the privilege of being his conservatory director for his junior and senior years at OCSA. Shane is currently a performer on the Disney Cruise Line, traveling the world on the Disney Magic, a job he's held since auditioning for Disney the summer after he graduated from high school. Shane has recently completed a professional development with Disney Cruise Line with a certificate in the Emerging Leaders Shipboard Program. Shane began his theme park adventures working as a performer at Legoland, and you can often find Shane teaching dance at Millennium Dance Center in Orange County, or even subbing for me occasionally at the Professional School for the Arts in Torrance, or choreographing for Musical Theater of Orange County. At OCSA, you could always see Shane dancing in a number of productions, including Jasper and Deadland, Sweet Charity, the tree lightings at Fashion Island, OCSA's galas, Footloose, as well as leadership on Evita and Spelling Bee, and a teaching assistant for our middle school productions. On a personal note, Shane is a ferocious talent with a drive for growth unlike most his age. There was always a sense of joy, determination, and ease whenever Shane was dancing, and I'm so proud that he has been able to take those skills and live out so many dreams already in just a few short years. So check out his Instagram for incredible views of the many sights of the world that he gets to see. But for right now, we welcome to the podcast, Shane Norys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shane. Oh my gosh,
that was so fun.
I'm so excited to have this conversation specifically with you. But before we get into it, give us just an update. Where are you? I can see you are in like the most ornate backdrop, but give us a little, tell us where you are, how you're doing, how you're actually doing, and maybe where in the world you are.
So currently, right now, I'm sitting in the lobby atrium of the Disney Magic. We are ported in Cozumel, Mexico today. I really love this port. There's so much to do. And that's why oftentimes we come here every cruise and I don't even really get off that much because I've been so many times, which I think is such a fortunate thing that I can say is I go to Mexico every week and, I dance on the nights, that's so I can't believe I say that. But, yeah, how am I doing? I get asked that quite often and usually it's I'm good. How are you? Or I'm tired. But to answer honestly, I'm doing okay. I think that's been the common theme of how I'm feeling is, I've been on this ship since September 14th, 2022. I was originally supposed to leave February 6th of 2023, but it got extended. So now I'm here until May 13th, 2023. And besides that, I was in Toronto for rehearsals before that since August 14th. So I haven't been home since August 13th, which is a long time. It's the longest I've ever been away. I'm out of the contracts I've done. This is definitely the longest I've been gone. And it's definitely been hard to be away from family and my friends back home. And, the job aspect too. It's a very physically demanding and mentally demanding job. So having to go every day with no days off is hard. Um, but I think, obviously I love what I do and I love that I get the opportunity to be here. So I can't really complain on that, but I think that's why I'm doing okay. We're almost there. We're 2 cruises away from a dry dock, which is where we're in port for a little bit with no guests or anything. And they're just fixing up the ship, doing any maintenance. And then I do 1 more cruise and then I go home. So almost there, just in that final stretch. But yeah, I am doing okay.
Wow.
That felt very long.
No, that's so interesting. I mean, you've gone, if I put it in college terms, you've gone an entire academic year without being home, which brings its own sort of sense of homesickness. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow. All right. No, this is great. I mean, and I'm so appreciative of a real answer in that regard. Not a because it's part of it, and that's part of the adulting process of like, yeah, this isn't easy, but here I am. Shane, talk to us a little bit. I know I sort of laid it out, sort of naming you as a performer, choreographer, dancer. Give us an idea of how you identify creatively. What are those things that you put out into the world? What are you making? How do you define yourself?
I would say I'm dancer, choreographer, like you said. I would say actor, singer sometimes. I definitely used to be more a singer and then I became more dancer and haven't really focused on singer, but it's still there. I could do it in audition. I could do it in ensemble, I really like photography. I'm a photographer. Let's say that. I feel like those are the main things I focus on. As you said, I just recently completed a leadership program here on board. And so even though I haven't had any real leadership roles in this company, I think that with all my other, things that I've done in leadership roles, I would also say I'm a leader just because of how I've grown as myself and things I've learned and what I think bring to the table as a leader too. So yeah, I think those things are really the main ones I would define as.
Love it. Love it. And I would echo, I wholeheartedly agree that you're a leader. Having seen, even in high school, like you take on leadership roles with little to no fear, just like, boom, I'm going to help make this happen, which is leading. As you know, this is the creative college journey. So we're talking a lot about college. But that being said, you were at OCSA, which is a school that prides itself on the college experience and statistics that come with that. But it was clear that getting into the industry early, and I remember chatting with you about it during your senior year, that getting into the industry was really top of mind for you. So I'd love for you to take us back to junior year, high school Shane. I know we never want to necessarily go back there, but I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how you were making those decisions during that time. How did you know that this was the path that you were going to go towards? Did you apply to any colleges? Did you consider that path at all? Like, tell us a little bit about your decision making as a junior and senior in high school.
We'll be right back.
Hey, are you the proud parent of a high school junior or sophomore who is also an aspiring artist or creative? Do you worry that maybe your child's artistic passion might hinder their chances at getting into a dream college? Look no further than the Creative College Journey. This is a service designed to help guide your child through the college application process. We understand the unique challenges that come with being an artistic applicant, and we are dedicated to ensuring that your child's application stands out from the rest. From portfolio review to essay editing and understanding the ins and outs of pre-screens, we offer a range of personalized services to suit your child's needs. Now, don't let the college application process overwhelm you and your child. Feel free to sign up for the Creative College Journey today and take the first steps towards a successful artistic future. Visit our website, www.creativecollegejourney.com, to learn more and start your journey today.
Yeah. As you said, OCSA was a very college driven place. They really wanted you to like take that next step, go to all these colleges, audition, apply. And I knew like that was never really going to be what I wanted to do. And I always knew from like, ever since I started doing more professional shows and working with more industry people, I saw like all the, there was a lot of people that worked for Disney, and I wanted to do that. Like that made me want to do that. So I almost looked at them as mentors. And so that's when I wanted to always just be like a parade performer at Disneyland, or be in one of those, big, large musicals that they do over there. And so that was always it. I said, when I turn 18 and once I graduate, like I'm auditioning every single thing I can get to. And there was some times when I would hear, because obviously you're surrounded by all these people, especially junior, senior year, that are applying nonstop. And, you're trying to make plans, and it's like, oh, I got to do college applications. And I'm like, not really understanding it, because obviously I'm not doing it. But, there is that, like, keeps a lot of people like, that's what they live for, in a sense. Like they want to have that college experience. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that people often struggle to grasp that there are other paths you can take, that it's not always just high school, college. There's I went straight into the industry, and I think that that's a totally acceptable other path you can take, for sure. And obviously it's hard but I also look at it as the same thing as applying for colleges. You're going on all these auditions.
Can you understand, like, what was it about Disney and like the idea of going straight to work that sounded so much more appealing to you than the academic path? And again, I'm right there with you. I know you have learned copious amounts by putting yourself out there, by auditioning, by working a contract, working multiple contracts, getting through the hard pieces of being a grown adult, right? You have to be an adult at 18. Like you have to pay your own bills. You have to, meet job expectations. So with that, and you were so clear about it. I will say you were like one of those unique 17, 18-year-olds that were just like, oh no, I'm doing this thing. Cool. You all go do the college thing. I am doing this thing, and you all can help me. Like, please help me get to this thing, but I am going down this path. What gave you that assuredness?
I think it all stems from all throughout my academic life. I was never really big on school. Like, obviously I went and everything, and I did everything, but I was never in like those honors classes or those like AP. I think that's what they're called. I think it's been too long.
AP classes.
It just was never like, and that's why like going to OCSA, like I went for the academic part, but really it was there for just so I could like, dance instead of run laps in PE, and I could do shows at school rather than having to leave school and go do them somewhere else. And I think that's when I knew like performing is what I wanted to do. And even though I could do 4 more years of the same thing I just did at OCSA, it's like, why do that when I could easily just start auditioning and go straight into what I want to do in life? And I think that there are things obviously that I want to do with my life that will need that academic piece of paper. But I think that for right now, what I'm doing everything I want to do without having that college education. And I think that's all I can really ask for. Is I don't regret not going to college.
This is great, Shane. I have not heard anyone in the college sphere talk about not going to college. This is so important. So thank you for this. Like, thank you.
Yes, I'm so glad. I very much will preach this.
Yeah. So you don't regret not going to college. What is the greatest thing that Disney has given you instead?
I think that one thing, which is more of like a perk, is, a lot of people choose colleges based on lots of different things, but I think a major component is location. Not everybody wants to stay where they've been their whole life to keep doing school. The whole fun part about it is getting to go to New York and do that whole dream, or go out of the country, go to Europe and study at London. But I think for me, like, I'm getting to perform and do my dream job and travel the world, which is like crazy. Like it was so crazy because last contract, it took us to Europe at the end of it. And I would like wake up in a new place in Europe every morning and like go out in Italy and eat gelato and pasta and then come back and tap on the stage for an audience and then wake up the next morning in Barcelona. Like it was so crazy. Like, and like, I met up with another OSHA alum who lives in Barcelona and she studies there. Yeah. And she is living her life too, studying there. And she took me all around Barcelona. I was like, this is great, but I don't think I could live here every day for 4 years. Like I'm getting like other experiences in Europe and stuff. Like and not even just Europe. Like there's so many other beautiful places that I've visited too, just in the US or around North America in general that are just, I think that's the main thing that this has given me that is similar to the college experience, but just it's more my cup of tea, I would say.
Yeah. And then going back to this idea, what I see so clearly that this is such a great match. This job experience is such a great match to you, the human, to you, the artist, and how it transpires as you move down the rest of your life. Who's to say? But
yeah,
at this moment, at this crossroads, this was clearly a great match. I want to get into the audition piece of this because look, getting a job at Disney, getting your job at Disney can be highly competitive. Many people audition for years before they actually have either the right opportunity shows or their skills actually match what Disney needs. And again, you got it kind of straight out the gate. Talk to me, how do you feel like you were prepared at 18 to nail those auditions? Or did you nail those auditions? Or were you just super lucky?
I think that there was definitely, I basically, right, when I think the weekend that I turned 18, there was probably like 4 auditions posted for 4 different parks. It was like Disneyland, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Cruise Line. And I remember I was like, I'm just going to go to all of them. Like, I'm about to turn 18. Like, I'm just going to go to every single one. And I think I was just prepared to just, go out there, be myself and have fun because this is what I knew I wanted to do. I've been so passionate about doing it for my entire life, basically. And so I think that's why it was like, it didn't seem to me like an audition. I mean, me personally, I treat every audition like another dance class. Like you go in there, you're there to learn. You're there to have fun. You're there to observe others in the room because you can always learn from other people. And I think that's like a big lesson I learned too, is like, if you go in expecting something, it might not always come out the way you want it to. And whereas if you go in just like to have fun and just be there and audition, like you never know what will come out of it. And I think that's exactly what happened is like, I can touch on like one of the story for Cruise Line was I went to audition in LA. There was the first part of the day was for main stage dancer. The second part of the day was for a specialty performer. And I was only planning on going to the main stage dancer audition. Got cut the first round. I was like, okay, no worries. Like we'll go to a different one. I was ready to like leave, but the person I drove with was like, well, let's just go to the second one or the specialty performer one. It's right after, like we're already here. Let's just go. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Let's just go. So I went, got through all the rounds, got asked to read some sides. And then like about 3 weeks later, got that offer from that audition, which is like really crazy to me because like I almost didn't go to that audition, but I did. And I like, look what happened. Like, I think that even if you're not always, maybe it's not always exactly what you want, but so you're like, I'm just not going to go because I have a really specific thought in my mind of what I want to do. Like, I think still go because you never know what will come out of it because now I'm able to do all these opportunities plus dancing in the shows, plus doing other various things around the ship that I'm kind of getting like the best of all the worlds in the entertainment like department. So it's crazy. Like
I love that. Go to the freaking audition. Just go to the audition. See what.
Go to the freaking audition.
I mean, I love that you were like first cut in the morning and by 2:00 that afternoon, you're an ideal candidate. Like, and it is, there's so many ways towards a lot of these jobs that just being willing to go to the audition and go through the hoops if it is what you want. And again, I love this idea that you're like, I know what I want. I want to be on the other side of that. And you just relentless. Yeah. Great. Beautiful.
I think that's something to add on that too, is like, I went to one audition and got it, and like I booked it. But I think that it could be said that even if I didn't get it, I would have had to go to more auditions, and I would have kept auditioning until something came out of it. Because I think that a lot of other people too, like I mean, I talk to people all the time about their audition processes, and like I've heard people, we've auditioned 20 times, we've auditioned 10 times, I've auditioned 36 times. And I think that a lot of people struggle to grasp that with Disney specifically. A lot of it is about timing. Like you have to audition in the right place at the right time. And, you know, there's one audition, there could be the perfect spot for you. And the next audition, there could be all the spots taken. And then they're like, let's try again later, you know? And I think that that's another thing is like, if you're passionate and you want this, just to keep going and keep auditioning, no matter how many times it takes, because you never know, that 45th time you go could be the one that gets you it. And then you're there for however long you want to stay employed, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's something else to add.
It all goes back to, I talk a lot with students, resiliency, perseverance, and adaptability. Mm-hmm. And that's like the perfect demonstration of all three of those, of like, I'm going to keep going. I may get no's, but I'm going to get back up and try again. And I'm also going to adapt what jobs I may be actually open to, so that you are casting an appropriately wide net for what it is you're after. Woo! Mm-hmm. Shane, you're preaching some truth. Having been on the ship for as long as you have, what do you think you've learned most? Like, to me, it feels like you have gone to college. I feel like working on the Disney Cruise Line is the lessons you've learned, the ideas you've learned. Like, what do you think you've learned most?
Oh, I've learned a lot. Let me tell you. I think that I definitely, 4 years ago almost 4 years in September ago, when I started this whole journey, I was a completely different person. I think that last month I was a completely different person. Last year I was a completely different person. I am always learning something new about the work, about the job, about the industry, about myself. And I think that's like the really amazing thing about this job too, is that like you're not going to college and staying with the same people for all 4 years. You're on contract for 6 months with a group of people, and then you're on contract for another 6 months with a completely different group of people. And your managers are always changing. Your guests are always changing, because you're always moving ports and changing home ports and bringing on different cultures and meeting a whole lot of different cultures. And I think that in a sense, like I learned a lot about handling, how do I put this? Like, change is a really big thing that I think a lot of people struggle with. But here it's kind of something that you just have to deal with, but you learn to get better at it. And, you know, you get really close with the group of people that you're spending your entire 24 hours, 7 days a week on this boat with. But you spend all this time, 7 days a week, 24 hours with the same group of people. And then you blink and then everyone goes home. And I think that then having to reset with a whole different group of people can be challenging, but it's also a good way to expand and open yourself to new personalities and different types of people and all that jazz. And so I think that growth and change have been two big learning curves for me, because I definitely feel like I've grown into a completely different person, but in a really grand way. Like I love the way I am now, or the person I am now. But I think there's still always room to grow more. And I'm always open to growth and change. So, but I think that's like one of the sad parts, but also one of the most amazing parts about this job that differs from the college experience.
This is gold, because again, even just you being able to articulate this, you can see the benefit. You know, there's this idea, I don't know how you feel about this, but like we're in a time globally of like immense change. There's change happening in every industry, in every bit of creativity, and like between technological advances or geopolitical issues or even just weather patterns. Like there is constant change. Experts will not agree on what is going to change, but everyone agrees that change is coming. So being adaptable, resilient, and persistent, like and honoring those skills and strengthening those skills, to me is actually the thing that brings a young person some security. Like you will be secure because you know how to navigate change. You'll make a next right decision accordingly. Oh, it's so cool. This is so cool, Shane.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are the aspects of the job that light you up? What are maybe like, what was like the biggest surprise about this job that you weren't prepared for? And then maybe that's like a thing or two that you could maybe do without. And I have a funny feeling it has something to do with homesickness.
I mean, just my job in general, what I get to do on the ship is amazing. I have a lot of fun with that. That's all I'll say on that. Go to my Instagram if you want to see more. I think that the traveling part is amazing because when I was a kid, I never really went on a lot of vacations. If we did, it was mostly like 2-hour drives to another city to watch my sister play softball or just going to Idaho to see family. Like we never went on these extravagant vacations that all my other friends in middle school and high school always went on. Like they would get back from spring break and be like, Cabo is so fun. And I was like, oh yeah, the water park down the street was also so fun. But there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I think that getting like going to travel for free is a really good perk. And what else?
What are the surprises? Any surprises?
Like I think the most surprising part is just like just basically learning how like a cruise ship operates. Like I think that's so interesting. The operation on cruise ships is very different than anywhere else. Like I think you're basically taking, especially with Disney, you're taking a theme park, a hotel, and you're doing this. I clasped my hands together. I forgot this is a podcast. You put them together and it's finding the balance between all of those things, because there's like characters, but then there's the restaurant service, but then there's the sleeping part, and then there's the stuff upstairs, there's the pools, and then there's the port adventures and getting off. And there's just all these things that work together to create this happy vacation time that was really cool to learn about. And obviously there were some things that are a little, but you learn to live with them and grow with them as things change. And that's another thing about cruise ships. Change is constant because obviously a boat this size, it has a lot to do with weather too as well. Like if it starts raining in a port and they have to cancel all the port adventures, everyone stays on the ship and then the whole day changes, your whole day flips around, which I think is another surprising thing about like, not every day is the same. There's always something different. There's always stuff that's changing and always different for each day. To go on things that I could probably go without. I think that this job, like I said, is very physically and mentally demanding. And I think that what would benefit everyone is like, I don't know how it would even be possible thinking about operation needs and stuff like that, but like a full day off just to like rest and reset would be something good or something beneficial. There isn't really much, honestly. I can't complain much about this whole experience. It's pretty amazing. But I think that that's like the one thing too, like you said, the homesickness, that's very hard. Not being able to really see any family unless they come sail or come to the port, which is hard because I'm this whole contract, I'd been on the East and South coasts. And obviously my family's on the West Coast. So that's been hard. But yeah, I mean, you can always call and stuff, but obviously with being on a ship as well, always changing locations, service and Wi-Fi is pretty hard to come by too, but it's always moments for it. But I think just that part, like the not being able to see family, those friends back home, and then those all things just kind of blend together. But overall, it's just amazing here. I can't really complain at all.
Yeah. I'm curious, are you able to, while you're doing this job, and I know it's a demanding schedule and there are demanding, duties that you have to attend to, but are you able to stoke any of your own sort of creative fires? Like, are you still working? Are you able to dance, choreograph? Like, how are you maintaining your own personal creativity while you're on the ship?
That's a great question because I mean, it's perfect timing because I just recently, about 2 weeks ago, I think. Time is such a struggle here. I barely know what day it is ever. But I did teach a dance class for the cast, which was really fun. It was my first time doing that since I was home. So that was really great just to be able to choreograph something and dance and not dance, the Mickey Sail Away party that we do upstairs. Like it was like my style, my choreography, and I got to share that with my friends, which was really cool. I think the hardest part is about finding time for my creative juices to flow is because we work so much. It's like most of the time on my breaks, I just kind of want to rest and, or I eat, or I go outside and read. And it's hard to find time too, because there's not really spaces for it. Obviously our rooms are little cabins. So if I kick my leg, I'm going to kick something. It's either going to be the closet, the bed, or the bathroom. With my arm, I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah. So there's not really room in there. It's a lot of sitting and arm movements if I want to choreograph anything. But I do try to find time to just, even if I'm just like sitting on deck 4 outside, like to listen to songs I want to dance to and even just like do it right there. Like it's still something. I do get a lot of the fill from just dancing in general, like doing the shows that we do. It's of course not my choreography, but it gives me ideas for other things and keeps me inspired for what I want to do and what I want to become professionally and in like the future of my career.
Yeah, totally. All right. I'm going to pivot this. I'm actually really curious about this answer. If Disney, and that's like any Disney gig, including the parks, if it hadn't gone your way, let's say worst case scenario, Disney Cruise Line said no, Shanghai, Tokyo Disney, Disneyland, Disney World, they were all like, no, thank you, Shane. What do you think you would have done? Are there other jobs, schools, paths that you've daydreamed about, that you've considered? Like, how would you have pivoted?
I think that is also a great question because I've never been asked that. Because most people just ask about the job, but I don't think that I would have done. I mean, I think I would have maybe done online school for like a community college just because I probably would have been home. Something that's always interested me is like marketing and communications. Another thing, which is really off brand for everything I've talked about, but like clinical psychology is an interest for me. So I probably would have studied that maybe because that's always fumbled with my brain to learn about. But I think I also probably just still would have done industry at the same time by like getting an agent in dance or maybe even modeling. Cause like my mom always tells me I should get an agent to do modeling. And,
thanks, Mom.
I think Mom, yeah, number one fan. I do think that would be something cool. But yeah, still probably sticking more industry, going on auditions for other things, other, work that's not Disney, music videos, anything like that. Just still, I would still be very interested in doing that. But of course, since I would be at home more, I would probably do school just to get that, like, since I have the time. Because I always said, like, if I was ever home long enough in between contracts, I would probably do a little bit of online school just to get that education in for the jobs that come up that do require that degree.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a very hard question because I think I was just so passionate and stubborn on working for Disney that I never thought about other things I would do if it didn't happen. I was kind of just hoping it would happen very strongly.
And clearly but what's so interesting about a question like that is that clearly you do have some other fires stoking out there, but very clear that this Disney driver was a huge one for you. It's so clear. I'm going to hop to finances because I also talk a lot about finances. I'm a huge advocate for whatever way possible, walking away from college as lean as possible financially. I'm not opposed to people taking on debt, but being eyes wide open towards why and how you're taking debt and how much you're taking. Now, you're in a very, unique situation in that regard. I ask most people, do they underspend, overspend, or get it just right? Well, we know you certainly got it, just right. You're certainly underspending and making money accordingly. So I want to flip the question, and I'm curious, how are you sort of saving, investing, or thinking about your money that you've earned over the last few years in terms of reinvesting in yourself, into your creative projects? Like, how have you handled the money piece working at such a young age?
Not well, actually, to your surprised. I think that I'm a person in general who loves to spend money. I also love when it's like when I started making my own money and I was spending my own money, because then I was like, oh, I worked for this. I deserve it. And that would be my reason for it all, which now I know. I'm better at it now. But in the beginning, what was hard is that this was my first contract. I was making all this money and then I would be spending it. And then the pandemic hit. And I think if I knew we were going to go into a worldwide global pandemic, I wouldn't have spent as much as I did. I would have saved more. Because I always said, I was like, oh, I'll do my first contract. I'll spend money. I'll enjoy my life. And then the second contract, I'll save right away. Of course, you see the issue, and where we went wrong. But, then during the second contract, I was good, but then we went to Europe and it's very expensive in Europe. So that took a lot into the money too, because it was my first time in Europe. And so I was just like, when am I ever going to get this experience again? Like, I don't think I'll ever fly back here in the near future. So I should just live my life. And then that was, of course, wrong advice to myself again. And now we're here, and this contract, I was like, okay, now we're doing much better. We were saving, and I have been better, and we're great now. But I think that it's different because I'm not paying for rent. I'm not paying for food unless I'm going off the ship and eating. Really, the only money I spend on board is my caramelized latte with soy milk 3 times a day. That's basically all it is. So saving money is it can be very easy on a ship, but very hard too, because easy in the sense that you're not having to pay for any things like food and rent and stuff like that, but you are spending money on stuff in ports and, you're going to all these new places. It's like, you could say, I'm not going to spend any money, but it's hard to say that. And it's easier said than done is what I'm trying to say is you want to save money, but then you go out in port and you see, and everyone's like, we're going to go to this really cool restaurant. We're going to go to this really cool resort. It's like this much for a day pass. And then you're like, well, you don't want to miss out. You want to live this fun life too. So then you go, and then next thing you know, you didn't save anything from the last pay period. But that's something that I've definitely struggled with, spending in general. You can ask my mom again. I bring her up. She's always been my at-home banker. What I used to do is I would send her money and she would put it in her savings account so that it wasn't easy for me to switch into mine. But then you would find myself texting her being like, hey, can you transfer this? Hey, can you transfer that? Hey, can you transfer that? She was like, are you ever going to start saving? And I'm like, yeah, I will. Next contract. But of course, here we are. We're doing much better. I now manage my own finances, and I pay for my own bills. Obviously, the only bill I have is phone. So that makes it pretty easy. But I've definitely been better at saving, especially because this contract, a lot of the ports we're going to are a lot of the same ports I've been to, which has been great because then I don't feel like I'm missing anything if I don't go off for the day. So I think that's what's pretty great. is once you've been somewhere so many times, it sounds so bad, but it's like, well, I don't need to go off in St. Martin today. I don't need to go off in the Bahamas today. Like, I've been there, but it's true. I mean, if you don't want to spend the money, it's so easy to just not go because you're going to be there next week. You were just there last week. So
that's so real. That is so real. And I feel like this is such a real conversation for many artists, especially artists who go on tour, who take a cruise ship, because you're literally, you're in a perennial vacation. Like you're in vacation spots, which are, they're not known for being cheap and they're not known for being inexpensive. And I would imagine, especially again at 18, 19, as your brain is still forming, I would make perfect sense why there would be some impulsive spending, especially if it's part of your brand, as your mom might say.
It is.
But the learning lessons along the way of how can you, we live in a feast or famine sort of world. The creatives, artists, dancers, there are moments where you're making money and then there's moments where it's like dried up. And it's like, how do you put out those buckets during the feast moments? How can you, to help you get through any of those famine moments?
Yeah.
Ooh, I've got some books for you too. I'm gonna we'll chat offline. Like there's some great books that may help you easily sort of account and think of your small business, you as a small business.
Yeah.
When
you said that you advocate for that, I was like, I definitely should probably talk to him because I'm not the best at saving money.
Yeah. Oh,
really not good at it.
We'll chat. Maybe we'll have a separate podcast episode just about that, about ways to
saving money.
I'm gonna ask this next question. You've learned so much on the cruise line and in these 4 years post high school. I'm curious what you plan to do with what you've learned. Like, do you imagine any additional like industry pathways for you? And maybe that includes these ideas of moving into choreography and teaching, directing. Like, how do you think what you've learned on the Disney Cruise Line might like influence your next steps as a professional?
I think that being here and kind of touching on like the leadership aspect, I have become very passionate about this job and its operation, specifically on cruise line. And I think that, when I was always before this, I would always tell people like, oh, I want to be a choreographer, whether that's in like on musicals or on a dance team or at a colleges. Like it was always just, I wanted to be a choreographer in any capacity. Recently though, I have stepped foot into a world of two different jobs. That's like, one is being entertainment manager, which is, it's entertainment character manager on board, which is one of the roles they have here that manages all things that. And then another role is casting, which has become quite a passion for mine as well, because I always enjoyed when I did like, when I used to be assistant choreographer for different shows and such like that. I loved being on the other side of the table, not even just because of like the being able to put my ideas in the choreography world, but also being able to put my ideas forth for where we're going to put people in roles. That whole puzzle was so fascinating to me. And I think that casting for like Disney specifically is a whole nother world of a puzzle, especially with cruise line, because there's so many different tracks and each track is so different that building that puzzle seems so stressful, but so fun for me. So I think that that's something that I would love to go for in my life. I know it's like obviously a ways to go. And there's still so many things I want to accomplish before I get to that like dream goal job of mine. But yeah, I think that's one of them. The other role on board, the entertainment manager, is just, it's all centered around the operation and leading that operation, leading your team of performers, which I have become very passionate about. And I think that's where there's these two roles within the cast that are like cast captains. So there's the dance captains and vocal captains, staging captains in the main stage world. And then in my team, there's animation captain and line captain. and they're just responsible for the upkeep of the job and the roles in general. And that is the next step I want to take. Like, I would love to be in one of those positions for my next contract if that comes around, because both of those roles prepare you for management positions and growing into that side of the world if you choose, or that side of the job if you choose. So I think those two specifically are what I have my eyes on. I'll just say, I think that this company and this job in general, it gives you a lot of different pathways that you can grow into and learn about, and career exploration is a big thing too here, which I really love. So definitely lots of in opportunities and areas for growth and stepping up into different roles.
So, I mean, what I'm hearing, and this has not changed since 17-year-old Shane, like, do you imagine like a lifetime career at Disney if possible? Or is that one path that you would consider?
Honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I think so. Actually, I don't think it's too crazy. I've met people who've been here their whole lives. I think with just what I'm doing right now, me being so young, I could continue this for a while, obviously with change. And there is a lot of change. I mean, I've been on 2 ships working, but I mean, there's 5 ships right now. There's 2 more coming out. Things are always changing. And so I don't think it'll always be the same. And I think that's what I love too, is that like each contract could be something totally different. So I do think that I could see myself being here for a while, because even if there's so many ways I could step up and step towards different positions I want to do that make me excited to keep going and keep staying inspired to work here.
Huge, beautiful. And the clarity is just is amazing. Okay, let's move into this last question. I think this one's probably the most important. I'm always so curious. You know, you've grown so much. You've become your own leader. You're living your best life. Just look at Instagram. It's you
Slay.
are a slay left out, left, right, and center. What is the one thing you wish you had understood about life post high school or the college experience, or not having the college experience? Like, again, I say this specifically for those students who are maybe surrounded, who are only talking college all day, every day. What would you have told 17-year-old Shane then that you know now?
I think a big thing is with everyone around you, like you said, always constantly talking about college. There were often times when I would go home and I'd be like, maybe I should apply for colleges just so I can be in talks with all those people, when they're talking about turning in their essays and their things like that. Like, I want to be in that conversation. But I think that honestly, like, there's no point. If that's not what you want to be doing, then why do it? Why waste the time? Why waste the energy? Why waste the money? Because applying to colleges, I cannot believe how expensive that is.
Just to apply.
Just to apply. And so some people like also spend money on getting like college coaches. Like, it's honestly, it's so shocking to me. I mean, whoever does it, I have that's you go live your life. But I am not one to spend money on that. And that's the other thing. Auditions for Disney, great. I think that I would just tell myself, like, don't worry about feeling left out. Like, you're not left out. Like, you can talk about other things. You're doing your own thing. And if you're loving what you're doing, and if you're passionate about what you want to do and what you go into, then that's all that really matters. People can be applying to colleges and you can be there for them and support them and go through that with them. But then on the other hand, you're going to all these auditions and you're talking about your future. And that's just as important as getting a college education and experience, is doing what you love to do. Yeah.
Again, college does not corner the market on growth and learning. Like, to me, the big issue is, I mean, I'm also a huge advocate for college. I love college because I know it can do wonderful things for people. But so long as you're going in eyes wide open and, making the most of those experiences and keeping that growth mindset. And that piece, you don't get that at college. You have to show up to college with it, or you have to show up to the job with it. And I just love that you're such a great example of that in finding your own path and continuing to grow and cultivate skills and cultivate, your leadership qualities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think that it goes both ways, honestly, with, I say that about going straight into the industry, but I think that if you're auditioning for colleges and that's what you want to do, that's great. But if you are just auditioning to these certain colleges because you're like, well, everybody's going here if they want to be in musical theater, everybody's going here if they want to be a dancer, but if it's not actually what you want to be doing, and do what you want to do, do what you love to do. I think I cannot advocate for that enough. I think both sides are great and there's so many different paths you can go through after high school. But if you're loving what you're doing, then it doesn't really matter.
Yep. Being clear about your goals, being clear about what you're after, and setting and staying in your lane, staying true to your lane.
Don't swerve.
Don't swerve, baby. Don't swerve. Oh, this has been such a great conversation, Shane. I'm just so grateful. And again, I just want to name it because I think it's so important. This part of the conversation, realizing that there are, in fact, multiple ways to move towards a creative life and a creative career. And Shane, I'm just so proud of you. I said at sort of the beginning of the episode, you are someone I will always remember being in a dance room with. And when you were dancing, you had such freedom and determination and clarity. And I'm just so, so proud to watch you really take those skills and keep them going and keep moving forward.
Thank you.
It's really inspiring.
That means a lot. Thank you so much. I'm just grateful I met you because you're such an amazing just person and director and human in general. So I'm really glad you decided to come teach at OCSA for a little bit.
It worked out. And shout out to your mom. I love your mom. Your mom is amazing. So give her my love
Tracy.
as well. Oh, Tracy.
I will.
So tell me, if people want to get a hold of you and see what you're up to, how might they do that?
You can follow my Instagram, which is at Shane W. Norys.
Great. I'll make sure that Instagram link is in our episode description. And Shane, I just want to say one more time, thank you for joining the Creative College Journey podcast.
Thank you.
Oh, let me ask this question, Shane. If someone sees you on the boat, are they allowed to say hello and say, hey, you were on the Creative College Journey podcast? Can they do that? Or are there like major rules of not interacting with you?
If I'm wearing a name tag, for sure, say it. If I'm not wearing a name tag, wink, wink, please do not say that.
Got it. Great. Love it. Noted. Thank you, Shane, so much. That's another interview episode of the Creative College Journey podcast. We hope this episode with Shane Norys was beneficial to you, and we want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen. If you are in need of some encouragement, guidance, and inspiration for your college journey and would like to work with Scott, don't hesitate to head to our website, www.creativecollegejourney.com, to schedule a free, no-obligation, 1-hour consultation to find out the many ways the Creative College Journey can help you on your path. You can also find Scott Barnhart on Instagram at Scott Barnhart. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps others find us. And be sure to come back in the coming weeks for more discussions about creative college admissions, lowering the temperature on the process, and the many industry pathways and transferable skills that a creative education in life can offer. Don't forget, it's not where you go to school, but how you go to school that counts. Thank you.
Sweet. That is so professional.